Good morning and welcome to SimWorld today. A somber edition here in the state of Florida for many reasons. Some of them as it relates to what happened yesterday. Some of it as it relates to what's happened over the past week here in the Sunshine State. But I am Marsh, joined by a chipper and excited, looks like he's about to take the field, Rick Blaze here on a Texans Victory Monday. Good morning, Rick.
It's such a beautiful Monday morning. The old saying being the Monday morning quarterback. I'm sure the Jaguars could use one. We got a really good win. I told Marsh we was getting a really good win. Let me not jump the gun. Go ahead, intro this thing, Marsh, so I can tie pretty little bow around it.
You can just go right ahead. Texans win 24-20, get a touchdown with 18 seconds left to beat the Jaguars. Go ahead. I've got nothing that I can really say of a positive note right now. So why don't you?
Did I call it? I text you. I was watching the game. The Texans were down the entire game. We was losing the entire. We started off 7-7. We was down 7. We gave you guys 7 points, and then we scored. We was down most of the game. Okay, most of the game we were down. Fourth down, the Jaguars decided on the 2-yard line or 3 something inside the 20 to go for it on fourth down. And I said, this is not the play. They did not convert. I immediately text Marsh. I said, that's the play that just lost your team the game. And a drive later ensued that won the game. This player you watch it on your screen. Touchdown. Game time. Blouses. We own the Jags. I can't remember the last time we lost to them, actually. Marsh, take it away.
Let's get some real quick revisionist history before we go to falsehoods. They did not score the game-winning drive after the failed 4th and 1.
Not immediately after, no. Correct.
So let's just clarify that piece. But let's do 2 things. I got 3 things. First off, the Texans are a better football team than the Jaguars. I don't think there's any debate about that. They've got a better head coach. They've got a better defense. They've got a better quarterback, as much as that pains me to say. That's point number 1. Point number 2 that I'll make, and I have said this one for the last 24 months, the Jaguars secondary is atrocious. Yesterday, CJ Stroud had 215 yards of passing in the first half alone. If you're a betting man and you're in a state that allows you to bet and you're old enough to bet, you need to put over on the opposing quarterback for yards against the Jaguars every single week. It was 290 yesterday for CJ Stroud, and he still went over. The Jaguar secondary is atrocious. And it doesn't help matters when you've got Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs on the other side. Nico Collins is just unguardable because he's a Mike Evans type of wide receiver. He doesn't do anything flashy, but he does things well. But he was also had 5 to 10 yards of separation. The Jaguars pass rush was good until Josh Hines-Allen went out. They were putting pressure on CJ Stroud, but the secondary is an absolute mess. I'm fairly confident, Rick, you and I could get out there and run routes, and we would get open. I think that we'd be okay. I'm not saying we're SWFL players here, but against the Jags secondary, we could get open. And the last point I'll make is the Jags coaching play calling decisions are awful. I mean, look, I'm not opposed to a QB drawn 4th and 1 from the 1-yard line when you're starting quarterback 6'6", but maybe we don't start him 5 yards in the backfield. Maybe we start him under center and you let him go to work. I mean, good Lord. In the last drive that the Jags had before the Texans touchdown, they ran it on first down. They forced DeMeco Ryans to call a timeout. Then what did they do? They passed it 2 more times. 45 seconds ran off the clock, and they didn't force the Texans to use any of their 2 timeouts left. Play calling was awful. Jags are not as good as the Texans. Let me make that very clear. The Texans are a really good football team. They're going to win the AFC South. CJ Stroud is a very good quarterback, and they've got a very good organization in place that's going to make them a dangerous team for years to come.
Perfectly. I couldn't have said it better myself, Marsh. This is, you're a man of a million things that you do wrong, but this one you got right.
Look, I am nothing if not brutally honest in self-reflection, and the Texans are a better football team.
I respect it, baby. I respect
After
it.
all that,
you still got the official. You still got the official practice jersey going. This is the official. They got the sleeves. Man, I look like I can at least be the punter. I at least look like the punter.
You look like I had a gym coach You could be the long snapper.
Yeah, I can be long snapper.
That's actually what you look like because the long snappers have no swag. Their jerseys are oversized. That looks like number 48. They don't wear any like arm sleeves, no visors.
It's number 40 actually, so you're close. Yeah.
Okay, it's a random number in the 40s. That's the typical long snapper vibe, and that's what you're giving off. I had a gym teacher that had a game worn Giants jersey in middle school, and you wear it better than him, but he was probably 6'4", 300 pounds, and that thing hugged his arms like they might fall off if they were any tighter. All right, let's move on to maybe a little bit better football team. Broncos beat the Jets 10-9 in what could barely be classified as a good football game. Raining all over the place. Jets dominated this game defensively. The Broncos hung around, and somehow the Broncos, with 60 yards passing from that man right there, Bo Nix, come away with a 10-9 victory, their second straight road win, and they are now 2-2. The Jets fall to 2-2 themselves. Rick, this was not a pretty football game, but are the Jets in trouble now that they're sitting at 2-2?
Yes, we said it last week that the win that they got over the terrible Giants didn't mean much. They badly beat the Giants, and now they look pathetic against a team who, for 2 quarters, Bo Nix had negative passing yards. I'll say this again. A professional football player quarterback had a negative passing yards for about a quarter and a half, 2 quarters, and you can't beat this team? For the whole first half, he has like -7 passing yards. Mm-hmm. That is wild. And you can't beat that team? Bro, you are in trouble. The Jets are fake. Last week, everybody thought that all of a sudden they're going to the Super Bowl because Aaron Rodgers stayed upright and he looked decent. But overall, they have a really good defense. Speaking of bad offensive coordinators, I think the Jets has one of the worst in the league as well. It's Aaron Rodgers' homeboy, so he's calling the homeboy's calling the plays, and that's not he's not substantial enough. I think that they're wasting an Aaron Rodgers. Like, first of all, Aaron Rodgers is not the same Aaron Rodgers we've come to know and love. I think he's in slightly above average quarterback right now because of his mentality for the game. But everything else has kind of taken a step back. The Jets are not for real. The Broncos aren't either, for that matter. So both teams are going to be picking in the top 10 coming in this coming draft.
Well, let me say this. The Jets just couldn't run the ball, and I think that's really, at the end of the day, what hurt them. They had 23 carries for 64 yards. Breece Hall, who I'm very well acquainted with his performances this season because of fantasy football, and this is not to get into an argument of fantasy football, but 10 carries for 4 yards. He was a non-factor. You had to throw it 42 times with what I think it was the remnants of Hurricane Helene hitting New York. If not, it was just a soggy Sunday in the Meadowlands. You're not going to win a football game 42 pass attempts, and they completed 24 of them. They could not run the football, and I think that's what really downed them in this game. They played the Patriots last week, not the Giants, but they still, like you said, they didn't look great. They didn't run away like we saw the 49ers run away from the Patriots this Sunday. They just did not look in rhythm. They haven't looked super world beater-y this season. They're 2-2. Their 2 wins are over the Patriots and the Titans. That's not 2 teams that are really instilling fear in many opponents. Right. And then I'm not saying the Denver Broncos do, but the Denver Broncos have at least shown signs of life with that win over Tampa last week. The Jets just have not risen to the occasion. You know, I don't think Aaron Rodgers looked bad. I don't think he's looked washed up. I think he's still a quarterback that's capable of getting things rolling, but in an environment physically, you know, with the elements where you had to run the ball, the Jets could not, and the Broncos could, and that's ultimately what kept the Broncos in the game, and ultimately what cost the Jets this one. All that being said, they still had an opportunity to win the game with a Greg Zuerlein kick, and he missed it. So take that as you will. This team had a chance to be there at 3-1, and granted, it was a 50-yard field goal in bad conditions. But at this rate, with the SWFL, you almost assume everyone's making a 50-yarder. All right, let's move to a game that looked closer, but it didn't really feel close if you're paying attention to it, and that's a team that I've made my point of. I've been watching very closely all season, the Minnesota Vikings. They win 31-29. They led at one point 28-0. A muffed punt opened the door for this one. By the way, the rule that you can't pick up, and this happened in the Jags-Texans game.
Yeah, you can't
run back a muffed punt is stupid. I mean, live ball, baby. We're playing live football. But anyhow, the Vikes go 31-29. They win this thing. Score makes it look closer. They dominate this thing. Sam Darnold was fantastic. And the Vikings are 4-0, top team in the NFC.
Hey, the Vikings are legit, man. As a Texans fan, I saw them live and in person last week. Their defense is legit. Sam Darnold fits like hand in glove with this offense. The OC and Sam Darnold are two peas in a pod. They got him looking really, really good, like a professional quarterback. And the offense is, from the offensive side and defensive side, the Vikings are legit. The Packers got Love back. I didn't know he played decent. He threw 3 picks, so maybe he wasn't 100%. But that Vikings defense will make anybody look like they're not 100%. The defense is that good, especially that front seven. They might try to mount a comeback. If you're Minnesota, I don't think you'd like a team putting up 29 points in the second half on you. You kind of fall asleep at the wheel. But nevertheless, a win is a win. The Vikings are definitely legit, man. They're super legit. I know Bob is happy to hear that.
Yeah, look, you're going to look at the score and you're going to say, oh, they almost blew this thing, XYZ. The reason that this game looks at all like it does is because of what we talked about, the muffed fumble that opened up the door for the late comeback. And then it was I'm just looking at the play calls here. They had the 21-yard reception from Love to Reed. This is under the 2-minute warning. And then 42 yards from Love to Reed again, which set up the 17-yard touchdown. So they scored within 1 minute to make it 31-29. That's it. You can look at the score and say, wow, the Packers were in this thing. The Packers were not in this thing. The Vikings were dominant. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league. It proves, and I think we've always had the argument that the quarterback makes the wideout. I think it's quickly becoming, in my eyes, if you have an elite wide receiver, you can make a mediocre quarterback look really good. And I'm not saying Sam Darnold's been a mediocre quarterback. He's been fantastic. But when you have a guy like Justin Jefferson who pretty much catches everything in his radius, who gets himself wide open continually, and then has an incredible ability to move the ball after the catch, you can make Sam Darnold into an MVP candidate, which he is right now through 4 weeks. This team is awesome. To me, though, you talked about the interceptions. That's where this Vikings team is incredible. I think they have the best defense in the entire league right now. They are getting pressure on quarterbacks. They are forcing turnovers. They are making life a living hell back there because you don't have time to set your feet and go through your reads because they just have guys in your face and their secondary is not allowing any room for action. The Vikings are legit. It's a team I'm excited to watch. I've said it before. They are on one of my screens on Sunday Ticket because they are just so dominant and entertaining, and it was a fantastic one to watch against the Packers. Let's round it out with Sunday Night Football, where this thing was over. I turned it off at the end of the first half when it was 21-3 because it did not look like it was going to get any better, and it did not. The Ravens win 35-10. Derrick Henry, 199 yards rushing on 24 carries. 87-yard was his longest. This was an absolute beatdown where Derrick Henry looks like he's 23 years old. He does not look 30 and over any type of hill. This was a beatdown for the Ravens, who get to 2-2 and hand the Bills their first loss of the year.
Yeah, this is Ravens football. We've been waiting for the team that we thought coming into the year that was going to run the ball a lot of times to the big fella, play solid defense, throw the ball when you need to. And that's exactly what Baltimore did. They totally dominated this Bills team. And a lot of people I wasn't really high on the Bills coming into the season. I will say they surprised me in the first few weeks with the way that they've played. They played surprisingly better than I thought. But here's where you separate the men from the boys. Last night told you, hey, there's levels to this. And the Ravens said, I know we started off not like we wanted to, but we are a much better team on both sides of the ball. And number 22, Derrick Henry, I'm so glad he is out of the AFC South. I'm so tired of seeing him run us over. So I'm glad he can run other teams over now. We don't have to see Baltimore like we used to see him when he was in our division. So, but Baltimore is playing Baltimore football. That's what they want to do. Lamar Jackson does not have to be all world. He can hand the ball off and then throw when he needs to. And then he has the wheels too. So it's complimentary football, the way they drew it up, the way they started going into the season.
They're 2-2. I think they're the second best team in the league. I'll hear the argument for the Texans. The Texans are weirdly, and a lot of this is because of their blowout loss to the Vikings, minus 15 point differential despite being 3-1. If the Chiefs are number one, I think the Ravens are the number 2 team because nobody can stop this run. And the argument has always been with Derrick Henry, just wait till you have to tackle him in December, January, and maybe February. Now, granted, February would be in the Super Bowl, but wait till you have to tackle him when it's cold out. It's not cold yet in Baltimore and Buffalo in late September. So you're getting a fall chill, but it's not cold yet, and we still can't tackle Derrick Henry. That is the wrinkle to this game. I still am skeptical of the Ravens. If you need to throw the ball, I just don't believe that they have the wide receivers necessary. Mark Andrews continues to not get rolling in that opponent secondaries and in the passing game, but you got to feed Derrick Henry 25 times a game. They did that last night, 24 carries. And I will continue to believe that's the best way to go until somebody steps in and says this is how we stop him. Because so far, through the first 4 weeks of the season, the only team that's been able to stop Derrick Henry has been the Ravens play calling. And that's about it. And that was proof last night with a 35-10 win. That is our show. We're coming back tomorrow. Tomorrow's October 1.
It's going
means
down.
Tomorrow is opening night in SimWorld U. There's 2 games that'll be broadcast, including LSU Duke, which I'm excited for at the 7 p.m. slot, and then Arizona and Alabama Sweet 16 rematch.
DJ Childs, baby.
DJ Childs is cleared to go. We are going to preview opening day in SimWorld U tomorrow. It is finally upon us. I am excited. We will finally have something to talk about.
Hold on, Marsh. You don't sound excited. I need a little bit more energy, man. Can you say that part again, please?
This is what the Jags do to you. They just beat you down and they take away your excitement for anything because they're the only team in the league outside of the Titans who might join them tonight without a win. And when you're in any category that's joining the Titans, as you know, it's not a good category to be in.
It's not a good category at all.
I apologize if I can't get excited for something very exciting when I just spent not the last, but 3 hours of my Sunday watching a team incapable of getting a timely stop. So that's where we're at. But we got a good day tomorrow. We're going to talk all about SimWorld U. Rick, as always, pleasure to be with you on a Monday. Thank you all for joining us. By the way, before I forget, EM giveaway. Kai Killens, Gabe Pope. If we didn't say this already, we might have last week. I'm not sure. There was a lot going on. Kai Killens and Gabe Pope are our EM winners, 1,000 EMs apiece for their engagement on last Monday's show. There's a Marsh Pod EM giveaway. If you stuck around this long, one coming up there as well, so make sure you tune in there. 1,000 EMs for both Gabe Pope and Kai Killens, so congratulations to the 2 of them. Thank you all for tuning in here on SimWorld today on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld Sports.